then you just have your arm pulled out of your socket.
Good morning, everybody. Here we
Morning.
Not yet.
Do mic modification. See that? Caught in the barrel. That's not cooking.
I bet you that is.
Yeah.
Go right through it.
Now we got something.
Yeah.
Talk to you guys a little bit today about the trap modification. I modify most all my footholds. This is Sleepy Creek 175, 1 3/4. I change a lot of things on my traps. What I normally do is I'll actually change the angle on the dog. When these things are punched out in the punch press, they actually have a curled up end or have a rounded off end. They don't square it up right on the trap, on the pan. So I do a few things that's different that a lot of guys may not consider. You got a number 8 bolt here, and I always try to change that bolt out to a number 10 with fine thread. With a number 10 and a fine thread, I allow that it takes that slop out of that pan. You get a lot of slop in the pan. It moves that side to side. When that animal feels that pan move, he'll pick his foot up. We don't want him to be able to pick his foot up. So what I do is stock trap this straight out of the box trap. Before I do anything else to it, I'll actually do a few things. I'll come in and take my pliers, my vice grips, and these dog ends on the ends where the jaws are in, I'll actually turn those things up. But when I turn those up, I'm going to catch a coyote with this trap. I want to make sure that when he bites down, a coyote's got a lot of jaw pressure. When he bites down, he'll pop the jaws out of the trap. And you think, how in the world can you keep him from doing it? You take this and you lock on these ends where it comes through the trap frame, and then you pull them up, and you pull them up in the upward position this way. By pulling them up in that position, when that coyote clamps down on it, it eliminates him popping that jaw out, because you got that U built up in there. It's in the frame. It eliminates him from pressing those jaws with his jaws to be able to pop those things out, and he pulls his foot out and he's gone, you know. So we want to obviously make sure that don't happen. On your dog itself, I'll come in on the dog here on the trap, and I'll close this eyelet down. And I close that eyelet down because when I set this trap, I want to be able to take my thumb and reach over here and flip that dog over and catch the pan notch is what I do. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually close this dog down in a little bit. It takes a little bit to get it to where you need it. And all I do, the vice grips work real well, or you can put them in a vise and close that eyelet down. See, I closed that gap down in there, and when this trap fires in, that dog's going to be right there. He'll be standing straight up. When I'm ready to throw that thing over and latch it, it falls right straight in that way. When the trap fires, that dog should be in that position right there. So a couple things to the pan. I'll actually file the pan notch down on it. Let me take this bolt out here. these are ran out in a punch press, and these punch these things out. So I'll actually come in here and I'll take and file this down because I want no rough edge on it. You know, I want that pan to be able to work up and down like it needs to. And I want to take that off. So I actually come in here with a file, and I'll do a filing this down until I see good flat surface here across this side of this pan. And I know it's going to travel like it needs to when it's tripped. I file both sides of this thing. I like to do this while I'm sitting watching a trapping show or something like that on TV. In your spare time, when you're all season, I'll actually sit and modify traps. I'll build snares. I do all that stuff just fiddling around at night when I have nothing else going on. I'll start modifying traps and things. Now what I've done is I've got this nice and flat here where it's going to take that burr, that punched off edge away from it. It's going to allow this pan to be able to fall clean and free. That's what it wants to do. There's not going to be any slop in that pan at all when I get finished with this trap. It's about the way I want it right now. Now I'm going to file the pan notch, or the dog notch, is right here. I'm going to file this down. I'm going to square it up. A lot of times when you come in here with this stuff, it's just rounded off, and that's what it is. Hold this with pliers. Square this thing up, takes all that play out of that pan. Square this notch up just a hair. And at this point in time, it's a good idea, if you want to put a night latch on it, you can put a night latch on it. You just take a file that's a little bit bigger and file a little small notch in it, about 1/16 of an inch. Right in this groove here. When you file that in there, you get that audible click. When you pull down on the pan, it goes click, and you hear that night latch click. And it's personal preference. If you don't want that, you don't have to do that. But I always like squaring this thing up. I mean, you can take traps straight out of the box. You can catch animals with them. But if you do certain things, if you're in an area where you got a lot of coyotes in the area, you need to think, if you're going to catch coyotes and you want to catch coyotes, you've got to have that trap modified to where you're going to hold him. Or he'll pop the jaws out and be gone. So I squared that up a little bit. A little bit to work this file in here. That's pretty square. Now what I like to do is I like to give this thing, that's really too much travel on that for me, so I like to file this thing down. I got this side squared up and this side squared up, but I'm going to come off the end here and square this very end up on the pan notch. Come back and I'll file this just a little bit. Make sure I got it nice and square. All right, we got our pan modified now. We're gonna work on our dog. I already worked on the dog a little bit. We closed this eyelet down. What I want to do next is I want to take, if you look at this dog, it actually turns up. I want to get that turn up out of there. I want to make it straight is what I want to make it. So I'm going to file this thing down a little bit and get that upturn where they punched it in the punch press out in the sheet metal there. When they punched it out, originally I'm going to take that curve out of there. That's what I'm going to do. Get rid of it. Square it up on in. We've got a good flat there. I'm gonna come out back on the sides because these are rolled over edges. I'm gonna make it square right here on the sides also. Just off the edge of the dog here. Get that file done. Nice and square. One thing that I do else is I'll actually take this and file the I'm going to file this thing at a 45-degree angle into here. On the bottom side of the dog, I'm going to file it at a 45-degree angle. And what happens is you don't get drag off the underneath side of this dog when he goes to fire. When he puts a toenail on it, boom, you're going to catch it. It's going to fire. It's going to fire the trap. I'm going to come in here